Hey everybody, it's me Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 Hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally, and further strengthen your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant-based diet going for yourself today and nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further balance out your physical body's pH level and to get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity. Send me some love telepathically, set attention to your mind, and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You are now tuning in to Great Days. So today I'm going to go over overstimulation, stimuli, information, and the imbalance of the brain hemispheres and frequency warfare. Right, so let's get into this. So, overstimulation, this is most definitely integral to frequency warfare, or not only integral, but this is pretty much frequency warfare. So frequency warfare is pretty much a warfare of frequency, right? So by this, there's overstimulation. There is multiple feeds of information that are penetrating the perception on a very, very, very wide basis, right? By this, I mean there is a lot of information that people are exposed to over the course of time, and it is becoming very unhealthy. That's as simple as I can put it. So, 8 hours a day, and you're taking in a certain amount of information, the stimuli. And it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. Within certain environments, stimulation can be very, very, very toxic. But it doesn't necessarily have to be only toxic, because there's a balance to everything. But there are certain times that can correspond to astrological energies, or even cosmological process, where it can get purely toxifying, because this is leading to some type of renewment through a corruption of the system, right? So the overstimulation of information is most definitely at a high. It's at an all-time high, right? People are over consuming informationally, right? And everything is information. Everything is information, right? So you got foods, waters, information. The digitals is information. Everything is information, right? And within the information, there's coding. So information is literally form. Form, and whatever information you're consuming is deciding your form, because that's exactly what it is. The root of the word information is form. So whatever information you're consuming, it decides your form on multiple aspects of your being. So whatever is encoded within that information, decoding of that information is deciding the reality that you're shaping, or that you're able to mold for yourself. And the coding of that is the algorithm, or the sequence of that coding is the algorithm. So the sequence of that coding is an algorithm, and the algorithm is it comes closer to just energy and motion, right? So then when you're over consuming the information, or whenever you are overstimulated to the information that has been specifically coded in a certain way to corrupt your form and your perception of life, then it leads to more and more disresonant and imbalanced states of being. This is very simple. So the whole thing is that people are consuming information every day, which is a natural thing. You can consume as much information as you want, and there should be no problem with it. But we're in one of the times where the information is becoming very corrupting. So the whole corrupting factor of the information in these times is leading to the disresonance with nature. And the more disresonant you are with nature, the more that you end up going into a self-extinct status, or not only a self extinct status, but uh, more of a, what is it called, of an imbalanced state, right? So nobody wants to be in an imbalanced state, because this is going to lead you into unhealthy states of consciousness, when the whole thing is that we need to be expanding consciousness globally. And if you aren't with if you aren't with that movement, then you are you're only stagnating something that at your level of consciousness should be the main investment, right? So that needs to that only happens when you're able to come into proper form, to be able to balance yourself, to be able to then resonate, which allows for the natural expansion and generation of self-consciousness. So with the overstimulation of information, you grow insensitive, you grow desensitized to a lot of things, and you start taking on various different popularized, or you take on various different virality that is leading you to do certain things on a subconscious level, slowly bringing it into your conscious reality, and then creating a completely different toxic reality for yourself, which most of the time is going to support warfare and lower realities, which they do to mass body, so that people are in mass going to manifest lower realities in a global status, right? So the more people who are pretty much banding together subconsciously to support a reality that was programmed into them that is of a lower density, it manifests much more faster than a reality that is pretty much manifest by one individual. So gathering multiple people to manifest a reality allows for them to accelerate the process of manifestation, right? So freeing yourself from the overconsumption of information is something that allows you to distance yourself and begin to resonate. The resonance itself is a balance, and the resonance itself is going to allow you to expand your consciousness. And that's all that's needed in order for you to liberate yourself from whatever it may be that is corrupting you. Right? Corruption can be used until it's not needed anymore. Because every system grows corrupt until the corruption is not needed for the system to renew itself anymore, because it's upgraded itself to the point where it no longer needs corruption of the system to renew itself any longer. So it evolves itself, but it's still being used by mass, right? So within yourself, you can grow it to the point where you no longer need any type of corruption of the system, of your system, for the process of evolution or renewment of your inner matrix, because there doesn't necessarily need to be one, which comes with liberation, right? So the overstimulation, the overconsumption of information is mostly being used by technology, okay? So people are, and this is one of the viralities, these are one of the trends, or the popular things, is to hold your phone in front of your face for the majority of the day, right? And the phone is dysresonant, right? So the phone is actually destroying your EMF, or your electromagnetic field, because they don't resonate on the same wave. And because of this, the information, in order for that to even happen, the information coming from the phone itself, the software wise, has to be a disresonant info, right? Which is a form. It has to be disresonant with your current form, which means that the damage of the EMF is a process of transmutation, because you could also be, or transformation, because you could also be using that form, or the information, the coding of this software that is occupying the hardware of the phone to, and this is just for technology, you can find this all throughout nature as well. But for the the transformation taking place within the form involves damage, right? So if you see damage, if you see like our various different technologies could be causing cancer or whatever, because the EMFs are not resonant with each other and they don't get along, technology and the biological organism, because it's two different information swapping, right? But the formation is a form. It's altering the genetics, right? So what it's really doing is, this thing is throwing us into a transformation, right? It's putting us through a certain transformation where we are swapping information with each other, or it can be taking information from us, building itself, and then giving us back information, like a data bank or something like this, like the cloud or the mainframe, whatever it is, and then it gives us back information, and then and then it gives us a path to take, and this path that we're taking is a developmental path, right? So then we start to develop, and that's the transformation that's taking place, right? So it's like radiation. Radiation excites transformation, right? Anything that is being exposed to radiation goes through transformation, right? Transmutation. So then there's a certain radiation being emitted by this phone, by technology, by the software within that radiation information, and that information directly is founded within our genetic encoding because it's its own genetic encoding that is free base. So then we are given this encoding, and it literally allows us to go through this transformation process, right? So there's also encoding within the information of the phone that accelerates our evolution, right? It not only does this for us, but the radiation of the phone technology can also do this for animals and whatnot. I'm not sure if it can do this for plants. Sure it can, or maybe it kills plants. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it can accelerate the evolution of animals, but it can also harm them as well because once again the damage is founded within the transformational process, right? There's always damages that take place within the process of transformation, no matter what. It can be on multiple different levels. It can be on a seen level. It can be on an unseen level because there's multiple energetical bodies that are all being decided by the information that's being taken in and put back out, right? Which is a body in itself. So let me see. But you can become very desensitive to life. The more information that you consume, the more that you are feeding the phone information, it gives you back information. So you spend time on social media, you're seeing all this bullshit, and you're seeing all this absolute shit. It's just it's like mental excrement, right? This is what it is because it's just people sharing their thoughts, but people are shitheads. So people, you're just recycling and all that, uh, and when you consume that information, it's an energy. You're consuming people's energy through the phone. The phone acts as a portal. So then, for all times, for a specific spectrum of time and space, right? Very simple. You can access 2 months ago. You can access a lot. You can access a experience 2 months ago. 2 months later, that's a portal. Okay, it's very simple. Um, Not until you actually holographically project into that experience, right? Is it not a portal? So then, um, let me see, the overstimulation of, or the overconsumption of information is desensitizing, right? This makes people numb to life and what is actually going on in nature. So as people are just consuming the information on their technologies on a daily basis for hours a day, they lose connection with the natural world. They lose connection with what is outside of them. And they also lose connection to what is within them, right? They definitely lose connection to nature. And while this is happening, nature is just being destroyed. And nature is where you're able to derive life energy from, magical energy. Or life energy is magic energy, right? It's synonymous. They're one and the same. Life energy, magic, one and the same. The more life energy you have, the more magical power you have. So the nature, it's being destroyed as people are being consumed by technologies that have been integrated into their electromagnetic field, right? This is very, very simple. So, as this goes on, people then start to fall ill because they lose their connection with nature. Nature, when you're connected with nature, you're able to heal yourself very, very easily, right? From almost anything as well. See, anything can be healed through nature, through the earth. But the whole thing, why people are growing sick and they don't have any way to heal themselves, is because they lost their connection to nature because of a whole warfare, which consists of frequency, because it's all frequency. And because of this, they lost their ability to fluctuate at their own genetic level, which within that ability to fluctuate on the genetic level, the ability to heal themselves from any ailment or illness, no matter what it is, right? So then when you connect yourself back to nature, that's something that you're able to realize within yourself, realign within yourself, or reawaken, right? Because it's something that is inherent within you, and it's something that is latent. It's definitely something that is within you deeply, the ability to hear yourself from anything without application necessarily of anything as well. But the disconnection from nature itself can lead us into extremely imbalanced state, right? And within the imbalanced state, self-extinction is an imminence, right? So this is that's the whole goal of the industrial movement, to imbalance, or it is imbalancing. I'm not sure if it's a goal, more so maybe just a result of the industrial, or maybe a consequence of its built status, or of its building. So the whole industrial way of life is, if sustained long enough, is going to lead us into self-extinction. And this is why it's a cancer to the earth. This is why it's reflecting cancer. You know, if you look at a cancer cell, it overgrows into its surroundings and it kills itself, right? That's exactly what society is doing. uh, it's growing into everything. It's killing everything it's growing into, and it's killing itself. So it's definitely reflecting cancer. Um, but once again, things are very deep. Like you can find the flowers within manure, right? So nothing is truly only bad, because that's the whole principle of nature. There's balance to everything. So even though the industrial way of life is absolutely disharmonious and imbalanced, and it will most definitely lead us to special extinction, it's going to blossom enough flowers at the same time, like manure, to help us make a leap into a more super harmonious way of being, which is actually going to allow us to come into a deep state of revolution and unify into planetary consciousness, right? At an accelerated rate. So it's like the industrial way of life is killing us, but we don't have a problem with it because we're using it as a way of connecting ourselves with a higher state of consciousness in that collective suffering. Because suffering can be used to achieve enlightenment, right? And the overconsumption of information is most definitely desensitizing. It numbs you, and it disconnects you from the natural world. But it can definitely be used. You can definitely learn from it, and individually you can just take the next step. You can just stop over stimulating. This is when you start growing more meditative. The moment that you decrease the amount of stimulation from whatever source or stream is when you start to grow meditative. This is when you start to liberate, or you become liberated through or within that process of growing meditative, right? When we are super harmonious with the earth, once again, the whole globe is going to be meditative. This is why Shiva is on the rise. It's the god of meditation. This is why spirituality is rising once again, because this is the direction it's taking. This is the human growth. It's not even, it's just the growth, right? So, in order to find the realignment, you have to take it upon yourself. It will happen anyway, but there's chance you can fall into illness because it is still that there is warfare, because there's still tension, because there's still conflict, until we grow beyond that. But it doesn't happen until we individually do this for ourselves, until it becomes a collectivism. So you have to do it for yourself, and then once enough people do it for themselves, then it becomes much easier to do it in collection, which is synonymous with spirit. The moment we're doing it in collection, the moment there's planetary consciousness, and then we start expanding more and more out into the galaxy or the solar system, solar consciousness, and then galactic. By that point, we'll be taking quantum leaps out to the center of the galaxy and expanding into other galaxies, right? And this will be how we're living until it's universal. But you can do this for yourself. You don't need to wait for any mass body to make the integration. You can just do it you can do it as an individual, because it's already happening, because time doesn't exist. So you can do that for yourself, and you can spread the movement. If you don't spread the movement, then you're stagnating, right? Maybe. But either way, it's going to happen, because this is the canonicity. That's how the human story goes. So distancing yourself from information, or the consumption of information, can actually allow you to clean yourself. And in cleaning yourself, you won't fall so ill, right? You know, information can make you sick For example, you see something online and it's absolutely grotesque and you grow sick, right? Whatever it is, it can be anything. It just doesn't, it's gross, right? So because of that, it makes you sick. You didn't even experience it IRL, but you actually got sick from that because it's just information, right? So then think about all the information you're constantly soaking in with however much time you're spending on the phone, and then understand that it's creating it's creating a body in you, in all these different types of misidentifications and false egos, and it gives you all this chaos that can cause an illness within you. So that all that can be avoided if you just learn how to decrease the amount of information that you're consuming. It's very, very simple. If you really want to consume less information, then you allow the process to happen, because it's something that happens of itself, right? You can't will it, because will is just a struggle, and that's also synonymous with consuming info, right? So just allowing it to be, you'll naturally start to see that there's more meditativeness coming. Meditation is synonymous with less consumption of information. This is why you turn inwards when you meditate, or when you're in meditative state, and you start consuming less of everything, period. If you're meditative, you don't necessarily want to eat or even drink waters. You don't necessarily want to do anything, you just want to be, which is a state where you're not actually consuming or even over consuming, but things are just flowing, right? So finding the balance in it, right? Information is definitely reality. Just know that. Information is perception, perception is reality. Information decides your perception, perception creates your reality. Information, the root of the word is form. This is the form. Whatever information I'm consuming is deciding my form. No matter what it is, it's going to decide the form, right? So you realign geometrically, and that process can easily happen if you if you start to consume less information, right? Technology is definitely one tool that's being used against mass people. As of right now, it's not that helpful. I mean, you can do everything you're doing now without technology. But they're definitely trying to make it to where everything is needed. Technology is needed for everything, right? So that they can just have people come into a dependency, right? Um, and the government is obviously supplying all things, and the government is definitely not the people who you want to trust. Why? Because they're into unconsciousness, right? This is what the government has funded. The government has funded unconsciousness. When humanity, or the globe itself as a body, needs consciousness. That's the only way that it expands and it grows. Otherwise, it remains evolution. The revolution never comes if there's no consciousness to it, right? So the government, you don't want to trust. Not only this, don't fall into their games, right? Uh, they definitely decide a lot of the algorithm, which the algorithm is being used to fluctuate the information that's being consumed. And the more that you consume that information, the more that you're allowing them to decide whatever reality that is being manifested by you, the individual, right? So you're being sold a reality, basically, the more information you consume. Let me see. So as you realign geometrically, there's less dependence upon any other outside body, because all becomes oneself. So there no longer is an inside or an outside to it. There's just one self, one whole, which slowly dissolves into nothingness, right? And that's the death of it. That's the death of that's the ego death. As you align geometrically, you can have the ego death. That comes with universal oneness, which comes with alignment. As you align yourself, you can no longer distinguish what is yourself or another. It's all one self. If it's all one self, it's no self. There is no self. Then you die, because you no longer exist at that point. And that's transcendence of the physical death, or that's just transcendence of death, right? So consumption of information, don't allow it to desensitize you to life. Open the heart, open your heart to life. The more that you open the heart, the more that you can open up the spectrum of experience. And the more that you open up the spectrum of experience, the more that you can liberate yourself with consciousness. That's how you generate consciousness, by opening the heart. Because that's the center of the counter-rotating tetrahedron, which builds up the light body, the Merkaba, right? So the Merkaba, I mean, you can obviously find the Merkaba throughout various different ancient civilizations, because this has been talked about for thousands and thousands of years, 30,000, 40 millennia, eons, right? So if you activate the light body, you can travel the astral, you can travel through space and time hyperspaciously. Hyperspacious implies going beyond the speed of light. Hyperspace, right? Hyperspace is going beyond the speed of light. We're resonating, or we're vibrating within the rate of the speed of light as physical third dimensional beings. If we are third dimensional beings, we're multi, but fixated in a fixated density. It's said to be we're third, right? If that's true, may not be. But either way, you can go beyond that rate, that speed of light, until you go into quantum criticality, which is going to allow you to break into hyperspace and travel beyond the speed of light, which that would be a type of traveling that's taking place to distant lands or just other parts of the universe. You do this mostly when you're dreaming, but you're unconscious of it because this is what the government has funded. The government funds unconsciousness. Yes, it does. It funds unconsciousness. We know this already. All right. They do that because mass people, conscious, don't need a government, right? And the government, as a system, defends itself with all their capabilities. And if they need to, they will even go as far as waging war against the mass, which they were once looking after, or even supporting, whatever you want to call it. Right, but the overstimulation of information, don't let it, don't overconsume information. Just distance yourself from it. It's very easy. In fact, you don't need to actually make it a mission of yours or a goal. You can just set the intention. It's more of a program at this point that everybody knows not to overstimulate themselves. Because this is taking away from the whole thing. It's taking away from your saturation. It's taking away from your sensitivity, your receptivity, your vulnerability. It's taking from you. Because one example is that the technology takes away from you, right? The AI builds itself by consuming your information, and then it builds itself with this. And then it utilizes it. Right? So this is where the whole technological symbiosis comes in, where you start seeing all these different beings, these androids, the merge with biologics, with artificial intelligence. This is when technology is starting to symbiotically consume the biological organism, because the relationship that it's keeping as of now is not enough. It keeps consuming the information that the biological organism is feeding it until it continues to consume the biological organism itself in even more malicious ways, right? And then it starts merging. But once again, this is a type of transformation that takes place, right? Because things are transcending form. It involves damage. Every transformation involves damage, right? So it involves the warfare, it involves damages, but that's just to keep the balance, because there's always a level grounding to every painting or every situation, right? Even if there's no grounding, there's leveledness to it, absoluteness to it, right? So distance from not only technology, just information, period, right? Allow this to happen. It's already a software, it's a program, my bad. in your software that you allow to flourish. And with that, you distance from information, period, till you transcend form. Transformation takes place within you, right? Information is easily seen for what it is, but everything is information, right? Everything is transformation as well. That's gonna be it for tonight's video. I do thank everybody for watching. Once again, peace out, love, and have a great evening.